California, welcome aboard.
Stunning images all over social media of Amtrak's Coast Starlight Train trip down the west coast of America piqued my interest, and the price of about $120 each for the route sealed the deal. My daughter had the week off of school and became my travel companion for this bucket list trip. To me, trains represent a nostalgic nod to our past, and when it comes to travel with this mode of transport, it's definitely more about the journey than the destination. Sure, a flight would get you from point A to point B faster, but the train offers up the scenic route without you having to drive the entire time or at all. So, what's it like climbing aboard in Seattle and chugging along for 35 hours through Portland, Sacramento, Santa Barbara, the San Francisco Bay, and countless other towns all the way to LA? Well, good and bad if I'm honest. The good part is you see a sizable chunk of our country's geography, traveling almost 1,400 miles through rolling hills and wooded landscape of the Pacific Northwest, and along 350 miles of the California coast. You'll roll through Washington, Oregon, and California, spotting Mount Shasta, Mount Hood, Mount St. Helens, and Mount Rainier. You'll also see other landmarks, including the famed Golden Gate Bridge, and ride right by several huge sporting stadiums, too. The bad part is you'll also see some of the saddest parts of our nation, with a front row seat to the backside of dozens of train stations where homelessness is not rare. The Coast Starlight is a popular long-distance train route originally created in 1971. For decades, the double-decker train ran a daily route, though that changed when COVID hit, and now runs 3 days each week, both north and south. The seats are much roomier than what you'll find on most airplanes. They'll recline and even have footrests. If you'd prefer an actual bed for your trip, you can book a sleeper car. It'll likely triple your price, but meals come free with the room, and you get access to the parlor car, along with some other extras. I didn't choose that option and regretted it. Instead, we ended up making our way to the observation car to sleep, which felt a little roomier. That's where we pretty much parked ourselves the majority of the trip. That spot will make this journey extra special, so be sure to grab a seat as soon as you board. It's floor-to-ceiling windows, which give you a grand, unobstructed view of everything you're passing. Your seats face the windows instead of forward, and that made me feel like I was living in a movie set for hours, with lavender fields in front of me one minute and the Puget Sound the next, under bridges and around bends, watching the sunset and rise again. We saw more sleepy small towns than we could count, and I can only imagine the stories of those who live there. But then we were on to the next sight to see, again and again, mile after mile. When we went, there were national park narrators in the observation car telling us what we were seeing along the way, at least for the first portion of the ride.
Murray Morgan was a college professor here locally who moonlighted at night as a bridge operator, and he wrote some great history books.
But they don't ride for the entire trip, so we followed along the best we could through our phone map and Googled each site to figure out what we were looking at along the way. There are dozens of stops for people to get on and off, and you can step off the train at many for a bit of fresh air and a short stroll. But don't go far or stay long. Believe them when they say it's a short stop. The train will leave you behind. We had an hour in Portland to get to explore nearby, but that was the longest stretch anywhere. Most of the actual train stations along the way can be described as classic elegance and are clean. It's definitely worth spending an extra minute in the LA station to check out all the Art Deco, but that's at the end of the trip. What will you eat? Well, there's a dining car that we tried once for dinner. For about $20, we got a steak, potatoes, and veggies. It was worth the price just for the experience, but the rest of the time we found food in the snack car, which served up hot dogs and soup, among other things. It's not a trip I'd suggest if you're in a hurry, and I now know 35 hours is just too long to be on board without a sleeper car. If you just want the train experience and you love the coast like I do, I suggest you board in San Luis Obispo and go south from there. That was definitely the most beautiful portion, with the train hugging the tracks on cliffs where you could literally see the water below you. And in some sections, the tracks ran through land you could never have access to by car, with coastal views now seared into my mind. That's the part of the trip that will stick with me forever. And isn't that what traveling is supposed to be about? Making memories, 1 mile at a time.